Tonight, I'm going to say some words.
We'll fold paper.
Charles will try butter.
And so grab your corded telephone.
Let's crack on. Hey guys,
hello.
Welcome. You have, Pastor Joe has become much more attractive than he was earlier. This is my wife, Leah. If you're just joining the show, she is hosting with me tonight because Pastor Joe is out of town, and so I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, we also have Charles in the house. Yeah, what's up, Charles?
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, I got a question for you, man.
Okay, hit me.
You knew it was coming.
I did.
Video game designer or astronaut? What would you rather be?
You know, that's a pretty easy one. I'm not going to lie.
Please don't.
It's a video game designer.
No!
But I will say an astronaut would be pretty cool. Like, I'd be freaked out, but I'd go for it.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be happy for, like, all of the process, but I would make it to the end goal. That's the weirdest thing. Like, I don't care at all.
Yeah.
But just to go through that training would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm very motion sick. Like, I'm not good with motion
So you would
sick.
be that guy that's puking his guts out?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I probably wouldn't make it, but I try.
Okay.
I keep going.
It'd be cool to wear the outfit. I mean, the big dome and everything, and do the spacewalk and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too
Too many movies were made in space of people getting hit by things for me to want to go.
Really?
Poorly.
Yeah. It's
I've
too
never.
many.
I need the realistic numbers on how often these bad things actually happen.
Often.
Do you think so?
Elon Musk has my confidence a little more than our government as far as like what is actually possible in space.
That's very true.
So that's changed the game
He
a
has
little bit.
personal investment into it.
That's true. Yeah, it hurts him if his thing.
See, that makes it more.
It does. Yeah,
real,
that's good. That's good.
authentic.
Okay.
Like you can.
The only reason I would be an astronaut is just so I can do the whole zero gravity thing. I would love to be able to experience that sensation.
Exactly. That would be so cool.
That's cool.
I don't think I can make it, but I would love to get.
Yeah,
that.
agreed.
Drink
Okay.
the bubbles
And
of
drink the
water.
bubbles. Yeah, the
And the
bubbles of water.
water.
That's cool. All right, cool. Hey, I hope that we solved that problem for you tonight. We're gonna do a couple different things tonight. We're gonna start out with a funny bit of making people angry, which I'm not really sure that funny. We are ranking, and Pastor Joe is probably super upset about this. We are ranking Disney princesses, and so we have the greatest of all time rankings, Disney princesses. I wish we had a goat in here to come eat the ones that don't make the cut. And so then and then at the end of the show, after I preach, we're gonna do some butter making and origami. So you have some birds that you're gonna teach us how to make. And that's going to be really cool. If you're thinking, what do I do with my summer? You can make thousands of origami paper birds.
Oh man!
And you can release them
over-
all.
Oh yeah, hang them all around the house.
Ooh. Okay. All right. So let's get people angry right out of the gate and talk about Disney princesses. We're sticking to Disney princesses. We need our sign that says from best to worst. I don't really know if I love this sign because there's not a bad Disney princess. It's just it's our favorite. And not favorite.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some rules.
The princesses themselves.
Yeah.
Right. The movies, there might be some things with the movies that might not be great. The princesses themselves.
Just princesses, yeah. Just your normal, run-of-the-mill princess, yeah. Nothing hating on that. All right, so, okay, let's talk about some ground rules here because there's going to be a lot of angry people, and we don't want to purposely make people too angry, just a little angry. We are sticking to Disney, so we're not going into the other franchises or whatever. This is not, a DC comic thing or whatever. We know that there's the DC side and the Marvel side, but whatever. This is just Disney princesses. We are not judging on first, second, third.
Oh, sequels?
Sequels, yeah. So Frozen 2 is not different than Frozen. Anna and Elsa are Anna and Elsa.
We're just basing it off the first movie.
We're just basing off the Disney princesses themselves. So Mulan 1, 2, yeah, just the character, just the whole character and the whole thing. So yeah. Also, it has to be animated. We are not doing whatever the other word is called.
Action?
The live action does not count.
Rendition,
That was not my childhood, and we're only here to relive my childhood. And so that's what we're doing. Okay, we need to establish some ground rules though, because I have 13 Disney princesses here that I have found on the interwebs, and we need to establish whether or not we are going to do and judge movies that have princesses in them, but the movie is not a princess movie. For example, Aladdin, very popular, but the movie is named after a dude. Jasmine is a legit princess.
So you're asking if we're basing it if they are not the main character.
Right. I'm okay with it. But as long as you all are comfortable, as long as we have talked through this with you in your living room.
We're just basing it on the princess, the person.
Just the princess. Now, we could get rid of, because we need to boil some of these down, we could get rid of some of these by saying if you are not really a princess, like Mulan, not really a princess. But I want to keep Mulan in there, so we're not doing that one. All right, so we have princesses we have. We have Snow White. I knew somebody that named their dog. No, did they name their child? Their last name was Watt. And so they named their dog Kilo.
Oh.
And then they named their daughter, her middle name was Snow. So it was like Rosemary Snow Watt. That's rough. Anyways, we have Ariel from Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
We have Rapunzel from Tangled. Was she called Rapunzel?
Yes.
You never watched Tangled?
But I totally forgot her name.
Yeah, it's Rapunzel.
Okay. All right. We have here Jasmine from Aladdin, classic. We have Sleeping Beauty. Does she have a name?
Aurora. But also, when she was away from the castle and she was just a peasant, pretending to be a peasant, it was Briar Rose.
Briar Rose. There you go. Trivia
Identity
princess.
issues.
Yes. Okay. We have Anna and Elsa, probably the most popular Disney princesses right now. We have Mulan, my childhood right there. We have this
Tiana.
is Tiana. Okay. Princess Frog. We have Belle from Beauty and the Beast. We have Mohaka from Moana. And then we have Cinderella from Cinderella. We have Brave, which is Merida. Okay. We have the newest, probably, from Encanto. What's her name? Mirabelle? Okay, we're going to go with... We probably should have looked this up. Mirabelle. Again, not a princess movie.
That's true.
A little controversial.
She's not really a princess.
Yeah, she's not even claiming to be a princess.
What we're doing is we're rating little girl movies is what we're doing. We're rating little girl movies from Disney. And then Pocahontas just around the riverbed. Okay, so here we go. We have some. Let's get rid of a couple right off the bat. Okay, we have two more. All right, so Snow White. Where do we want it? That's a solid start.
This is a classic.
Put it in there. Let's start it off. Here we go. Let's start it off. We're gonna move the birds. Whoop, they just flew off the table.
Okay. Here is the deal with Snow White. She is kind.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
She goes and finds somebody's house and says, "Oh no, it's all dirty." She cleans it up.
Okay.
She makes them a meal.
Okay.
Okay. But she did sneak into the house.
Okay. I mean, you've
she
won me
sleeps in
over.
their beds without asking.
You've won me over a little bit.
So, I mean, but she's,
quintessential like 50s when it came out, the hairdo and everything. Okay, so that's just our let's pull these back. That's where she is. I mean, she is there. Okay, here we go. Ariel. Ariel, my problem with Ariel as a parent is that, and you knew this was coming. You knew I was going to unleash one.
She was my favorite when I was a kid.
Ariel disobeys her dad.
Oh, so bad.
It all works out in the end.
Because of her dad.
And
because
then,
of Eric.
And you are teaching young people then that disobeying their parents will work out for you in the end. And it might, but it's not the scripture's doctrine.
It's not going to work
out
your
for parents.
You
and so
in eternity.
In my mind, she is below. She also needs to put on a little bit more clothes. She is below Snow White.
I have to agree because, yeah.
Even though she's your favorite, and she has some great songs.
Oh, I loved her voice.
Pastor Joe is her voice.
I loved her sparkly dress at the end.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. Good bad guy in that movie. Creepy.
Ursula?
Oh, wow. She just passed away in real life. Not long ago. Yeah, I think this year. All right. Great princess movie. Tangled. Phenomenal princess movie.
So,
good action scenes. Great humor.
Beautiful candle scene.
Oh, yeah,
great soundtrack. Very strong contender for top princess.
All right. So here's my question for you, though.
Yeah.
Right. She doesn't know that Mother Gothel is not her mom,
That's
and
true.
she does disobey her mom.
It's true, but her mom was pretty bad. And
yeah, I mean, she didn't let her leave the house.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't get to go play in the yard.
Yeah, so technically it wasn't her parents. She wasn't disobeying her parents. She was disobeying her person that pretended to be her parents.
The person who kidnapped her.
Yeah, so I would say are we ranking her below Snow White? I don't think that's, okay, in my mind.
You like her better?
Yeah, is this the right way? Yeah, okay, all right, good. I just want to make sure we're. All right. Are we clear on that? Are we good with that, Charles? Okay. So far, we are safe. We have not gotten rid of anybody yet. Okay. Aladdin with Jasmine. Great soundtrack. The diamond in the rough. What a great line. Okay. Truly a princess.
Yes.
So I feel like we have to leave her. Yeah, I feel like we have to leave her in there.
Yes.
Also big into Dissing Bang Her Dad. Where are all the moms in these movies? Where are the moms?
Disney is bad about having both parents in the picture.
What are we teaching young people?
Dysfunctional families.
Okay.
I mean, yes, that happens in real life, right?
It does. But we need to be teaching people that God's plan.
But the one line that I like that Jasmine says when Aladdin is talking to her dad, she's like, "I am not a prize to be won," and she storms out.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, yeah, girls are more than just
That's
items.
Good. Okay. Where are we ranking her? You rank this one.
Oh, it's so hard.
You're gonna tick a lot of people off. Whatever happens tonight, it's like the elections. Whoever wins, somebody will be mad. It doesn't matter.
I'm a sticker here because I still like that Snow White
was
the person. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Needs
that the
to
movie
tan
was
a little
great.
bit.
It was kind of weird.
Needs to tan.
No,
Awful.
she's her name is Snow White.
She's a little pale.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Here we go. Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. You did not know her name was Aurora? Long hairdo.
I always want to call her Aurora.
Some
Borealis.
great scenes and some great theology there at the end when he's fighting the bad guy, and he has a sword and everything and a shield.
Like the sword of truth. Or
yeah, so some great theology in there. Old movie, a little lackluster.
The movie's there's a couple weird spots.
There's a couple weird spots with the witchcraft. A lot of witchcraft in Disney movies when you start looking at. A lot of wizardry and witchcraft. Like all of them have it in it. So where do you want to rank? I don't know if anybody's favorite princess is Sleeping Beauty. Never seen it, period. Charles, put the camera on and just admit that to the people. I want them to understand that you have never seen the movie.
I have never seen whatever movie we're talking about. Sleeping Beauty, never seen.
So Tricks, you never had Tricks.
No, I had Tricks. It was
Fruity Pebbles.
Yes, and Captain Crunch.
Okay, yeah. So we're working on bringing you up
list. There's a long list. I think we're trying to.
And Livestream is when we end the list and Livestream will end. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you want to rank her?
I mean, the person herself, she's really sweet, right? She's been living with these three fairies her entire life. She meets this guy, right? The night that she's before she's supposed to leave, she cries about it. Just understandable. She's been dreaming about this.
Okay,
I can't remember what
rank her.
This
is not good to be ranking people like this. Okay, wow, Ariel just keeps getting pushed down.
It's stained in my
All right, the big one, Frozen. Big soundtracks, Idina Menzel. Big storylines, big budgets. Actually, Tangled, I think, is one of the bigger budgets of these.
We have Elsa with us.
We have Elsa with us. Yep. Yeah, from last week's show, if you didn't catch that reference. So Let It Go. Big blockbuster songs. Some theology in it that not comfortable with. She's often pushing away her sister, but they address that, so that's good. Great plot twist in the first one where the bad guy or the good guy turns out to be the bad guy. Love that plot twist. Some good morals in there. So I'm okay with Frozen. My beef with Frozen that it's a little overdone. Like it's everywhere. Everywhere you turn is Frozen.
I mean, wasn't that the case probably with each of these in their
time? I don't know if they were as Frozen is everywhere. So I don't know. So that's my big problem with Frozen.
I find that the people, Disney was a genius. They have two princesses in the same movie.
Yeah. And so they're covering at least two different types of people.
Oh yeah. Okay, my older daughter loves Elsa.
Yeah.
Loves Elsa.
Who doesn't
loves
love Elsa?
Okay. Here's my admission. I do not love Elsa.
Agreed.
Okay. She's very fun, fancy dress, snow powers, all that. Okay. You want to talk about who's the real hero? Anna. All right.
That's true.
Anna is the real hero.
There you go. Some of my problems with Elsa are, she closes herself off to solve her problems. I don't know. The whole Let It Go song is super catchy, but we are not taught as Christians to just live however you want to live. We're taught as Christians to surrender to Christ, to surrender to authority, to put off the old and put on the new. And so some of the theology of Let It Go really rubs me the wrong way. I don't think it's better than Tangled. It needs to be below Tangled. Ooh. So wherever that is in the lineup,
I mean,
I think that's fair. Okay, hey, we need to move on. We have a lot to do. Mulan, fantastic soundtrack. Yeah. A little bit of the, again, we're back to the false gods,
Right,
and so not real comfortable with that.
yeah, the ancestors.
The ancestor worship, the Bible does not teach that. Great fight scenes based on a story. I don't think it's a real story, but based on a story, a bigger book I read yesterday. And so Mulan.
She's sacrificing herself.
She does.
On behalf of her family.
I feel like she's always humble in what she does. It's never cocky. And so I'm a huge fan of Mulan. I'm a Mulan fan. I'm not sure bigger than Tangled. I would say bigger than Frozen in my mind. Like if you're saying I'm watching one of them, I'm gonna give me Mulan.
I cannot agree with you on that one.
Really?
I would rather. Of course, I'd rather watch Frozen.
Why?
Because.
How come you get to rank them? I thought. All right, here we go. Tiana, Princess and the Frog. I've only seen this like one time. Reason we've only seen it one time.
It's been so long since I've seen it.
I need to re-see it. The reason we only watched it one time is there was some voodoo in it, I think. And it really worried me. I know this is a lot of people's favorite princess. First African-American princess. And so it was a really big deal.
Super cool.
Super cool. I'm all about that. Just like I'm all about Mulan being the first Asian princess. The voodoo really, that was a concern for me. So
I think that the reason that the voodoo bothers me is because a lot of the magic in these movies is very like not realistic. Like people don't have ice powers, right? But there are people who practice voodoo, and there's people that practice different things. And so those types of magic, when they're in the movies, that's what bothers me. When it's like, okay, someone could actually be like, oh, they do voodoo, I want to go try that.
Yeah, so not a fan of that.
So that's the part that bothers me.
Where are we putting her?
Her though, okay.
She was very hard working base.
I'm all about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She worked hard to get her father's restaurant. She didn't take any handout from the prince and all that.
Okay.
Oh man.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So maybe there's some redeeming qualities somewhere. What do you think? Snow White?
Before Snow White? After? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm good with that. I need to go back and rewatch it. I need to have an open mind with the voodoo thing, and not with the voodoo thing, but like to the rest of the story. I have a. Let me clarify that.
She is.
Pastor Stephen and this church have like a zero tolerance on demon, dark witchcraft, black magic. There is zero in the Bible that is taught that is okay for you or good for you or healthy for you. We're taught the opposite in the Bible, that Satan wants you to open that door. And I'm telling you, when you open that door, it's like literally putting a doormat out to him that says welcome. And so he works in the dark realms, and so we don't do that. Okay, probably my favorite princess of all time, Belle. Classy, helps her dad out, always humble. Stylish. I mean, look at that yellow gown. And then the Beast. What a boss! Great soundtrack. And so Belle's a boss.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Belle is up there. I just put that out. I planted that. Like, okay, Mohaka, good soundtrack as well. Great soundtrack.
Yeah, you got the demigod thing going on.
The demigod thing is the problem in that, and there's the song in there that says "You're welcome," and I didn't like that song because God created the earth. And whatever his name is, Maui says, I created it, and it just rubs me the wrong way. It was so unnecessary.
But she goes on this mission on behalf of her people.
Yep. So it's heroic. Where we need to plant her somewhere, up or down? No, we're going down. Charles is pushing her down.
Just a little. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm down with that. She is a real princess, so there's that. Okay,
Yeah,
we have Cinderella. People love Cinderella. We are out of sticks though, and so we have one more. If you want Cinderella to be on there,
I mean, she is super kind. She's obviously she's looking for a better life.
Yep.
But she's with a stepmom and two stepsisters who treat her like garbage
Yep.
every day.
And she does
From
forgive
sun
them.
up to sundown, and she still is mostly kind.
Yep. And so Cinderella, I don't know if I needed to be there. It's up to you. Okay, here we go.
I like her more than Snow White.
All right. Wait, we're moving Snow White then down?
Oh, since she's
Okay. Just reverse me. Brave, Merida. Good Celtic music in there. Again with the dark magic. Uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, I gotta wish
She also fights constantly with her mom, and it's portrayed as her right to do that. Not comfortable with that. Some good humor in there with the skinny guys and the big guys. So the triplets, they're kind of, shown as being a little crazy. The dark magic kills it for me. I love the music. The dark magic kills it for me. So I mean, it's somewhere. Are we getting rid of somebody to put her in their place, or do we want to like share a stick?
I mean, I feel bad. Do you stick her with Ariel because they both are disobedient? I feel bad because they're like you have the two redheads down there.
Okay.
And I don't have anything against redheads because I've had really good friends. I've been really good friends with redheads.
All right.
Take it personally.
Encanto.
Not a princess.
Not a princess movie. So are we agreed that we can? This is more like Up, a good movie, great movie, not a princess movie.
Not a princess movie.
Also has some magic in it.
Yes, their whole family's magical.
But it's more like good magic than dark magic.
Yeah, it's more.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Fun.
Are we okay with saying this is not a princess movie? Because this is gonna be a big deal to people. Okay.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying that she's not a princess officially.
Pocahontas.
Indian princess.
Never seen. Put it on the camera. Admit to the people.
I've never seen Pocahontas. I know what it is. I got the general gist of it. Learned history. Never seen the movie.
So what
Kinda
Charles
really
is
care.
This is the real account of what happened.
What Charles is saying is that actual history is more important than Disney's portrayal of history.
No, she had a tree that spoke and a raccoon that talked to her, and she was singing just around the river all the time.
Willow wasn't her name. She's talking to a tree.
Should I marry Coconut? That's great stuff. Okay, but so I don't know. I'm middle of the road on Pocahontas. I haven't seen it in years.
Sacrifices herself for John Smith in the movie.
Yeah. Again, though, disobeys her dad. Doesn't she?
Is there? Can we look at this? How many of these princesses have actually not disobeyed their parent?
I mean, like, okay, Ariel did, Merida did. I don't know if this one had I don't know if she had one.
No.
Mohawka did. Jasmine did. I don't think Snow White did.
So Sleeping Beauty and Snow White did not.
I don't think
She
Cinderella
did.
did.
No.
I don't know about Tiana. Okay.
So
Mom though, does she obey the mom?
No, she disobeyed.
Okay.
Okay, so we got 4.
Mulan disobeys her dad. I mean, kind of steals the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit.
Didn't they talk about? I felt like they talked about it. I don't remember. I can't.
But I mean, she kind of goes behind the parents' back. Like that's the whole thing. I'm gonna go behind the parents' back.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I think she
when
took,
she steals
took the
armor.
sword. And stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of. And then Frozen.
Okay, they technically don't disobey.
Because the parents are gone.
Right. They don't disobey. And beforehand, the dad's like, conceal, don't feel. And I was like, which
is not a great story.
Which was not the point of, when they had that moment with the trolls at the beginning. I was like, what? That's how you came away from that?
Yep. And the problem is Disney is teaching that the parents don't know best.
Right.
And that's true. Parents might not know best, but they're trying. Okay, they're trying. And so we gotta work with them.
Right.
5,
Tangled, disobeyed, Belle, 6. So is that 6?
I'm not sure. I'm not saying Tangled disobeyed because she didn't disobey her parents. She disobeyed the person that stole her.
Well, I can't remember. But wasn't it like? Because I know what's his name. I want to say Han, but his name is not
Han.
Han.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, are we talking about Tangled?
Yeah, Tangled.
So Flynn Rider.
Oh, Flynn Rider.
Flynn.
Yeah.
So didn't he? Because he ran up the tower because he was being chased by the bandits, and then they left. So did she disobey?
She does technically leave.
So, I forget how that all
She asked Mother Gothel, like, for my birthday, I'd like to go see the lanterns. Mother Gothel says, don't ever ask me to leave this tower again. Okay, so she doesn't technically ask, she just leaves.
Okay. All right. We need to rank this last one, guys. We need to rank this last one. Pocahontas is a true princess, and so we need to rank her somewhere in here.
Oh man.
I like maybe right here ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere right there, maybe right there. All right, that's the ranking, guys. This is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're upset right now.
I'm sorry if you're upset. This is though the official ranking of the American people. Like they look at our show, and they people mostly get their information from our show. News stuff like that is mostly from our show. Most of the country watches it, and so that's it. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry we made you mad.
You're the basis of public opinion.
This is best down to not worst, just not our favorites, not our. It's just rank. We're just talking about it. Okay. Hey, we're going to move on. We have a verse to do this week. And so this is our verse from Psalm 92:12. It says, the righteous flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Why do they flourish? Because they're planted in a space of an area that's been cultivated for best growth possible. You say, how did God set up the world? He set it up to reward those that are righteous. And so when we look at what our actions are going to do I want to set myself up for success, or do I want to set myself up for failure? Well, if you set yourself up for righteousness, then you're headed towards success, because that's the way God set up the earth. So that's a verse to ponder through this week. Hey guys, tonight we're back in Exodus chapter 3 to figure out what Moses is going to do with this curious calling from God. It's a really weird story, so we want to kind of look at the idiosyncrasies of it to see what we can learn and how we can apply it to our lives. Last week we heard that saw that God hears the cries of the children of Israel. He's always listening, he's always hearing, and so God will hear us when we cry out to him. And he hears the cries of the children of Israel, and God meets with Moses at the burning bush in Exodus 3, verses 1 through 6, and God calls Moses to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, where they have been for 400 years, enslaved by Pharaoh. Exodus 3:10 is kind of our launch text tonight, and it says this in Exodus 3:10. Come now, therefore, God says, and I will send you to the Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Come now, says God, and I will send you to Pharaoh. Boy, that must have been terrifying for Moses. If you've ever been in a scary spot in your life that God is calling you to do, but you're not sure that you can do it, and that's what we're going to learn tonight. In response to God's call to Moses to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, Moses will ask God, what in the world is he thinking? And so ask some things for clarification. And it's never bad to ask God for clarification. I think Moses is criticized often in this text for saying, why didn't you just trust God, just like Gideon did? But God is patient. Psalm will go on to tell us in Psalm 145:8 that the Lord is gracious, full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy. I think God welcomes our questions. Why? I think there is a point where you do have to say, okay, I'm just going to trust the Lord and do what is right. But there's sometimes that God will direct you to do something, or God will place something in your life, and I think he welcomes that. Why? It's part of a relationship. If I accidentally broke one of my daughter's toys, or on purpose broke a toy, I think she knows that she is welcome to come to me and say, Daddy, why did you do that? What were you trying to teach me? Or what can I learn in this situation that has happened in my life? So in response to God's call to Moses asked some questions for clarification. You know, a lot of people look at Christianity and say, oh, it's just to follow these rules. And they think that when God tells us to jump, we just have to ask how high. And God doesn't do that. He patiently works with Moses, and that's and this story is a perfect example of that he patiently works through our questions for us to be able to learn and grow. God does not blow up at Moses. Now, because God's understanding and wisdom goes beyond our understanding, and we have that in Isaiah 55 and Romans 11, there are some things that we're never going to understand. And that's okay. My daughter cannot understand at her age why she cannot eat unlimited cheese. She loves cheese. Or why she cannot have ice cream for dinner. She'll understand someday, but right now, in this moment, even if I explained it to her, she would not understand. And so she has to, at some point, trust me. So it's okay to ask questions, but at some point, we recognize that we will not always understand God's reason why, even if he tells us why. And so we just have to trust that he has our best interests at heart, and he loves us. Now, what does Moses ask? Moses' first question is this. Moses asks, who am I? In Exodus 3:11, he says this, But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? Remember, Moses is wanted for murder. He is, and they haven't forgotten this, that he is a man that for 40 years ago took the life of an Egyptian that was unjustly hurting a Hebrew slave. And they came to him and said, the children of Israel came to Moses and said, who has made you a prince over us? And so now he's a hunted man in Egypt by the Egyptians for taking an Egyptian's life. And he is unwanted by his own people, who maybe perhaps has reflected poorly upon the nation that is already enslaved, and who has gone and tried to do right but did wrong in the end. And so he's not wanted by either of those people groups that he's going to go interact with right now. And he says to God, who am I? I've been out here in the wilderness. I'm not some great trained theologian. I'm a shepherd, and who am I? And so Moses is asking, what do you want me for? Moses was making his past neutralize the call of God upon his life. Moses, not God, brought up Moses' past. God never said, hey, let's talk about when you murdered somebody 40 years ago. Moses brings that up. As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us, Psalm 103:12 says. God does not drudge up your past. Let's just deal with it once and for all. But Moses brings up a past that God has already put away. Do you make your past disqualify you from serving God? You know, in 1903, Orville Wright flew the first airplane, had the first human power, or the first powered flight of a human being in an airplane. And what people don't recognize is that 3 days before, Wilbur, his brother, had crashed in an attempt to fly at the very same spot. If they had allowed their past to disqualify them, we would still be driving everywhere we went. Do you make your past disqualify you from serving God in the now? Have you not been bought with a price? 1 Corinthians chapter 6. So remember that if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. 2 Corinthians 7. You need to move forward. When you have been saved, you need to move forward in the forgiveness that God offers. There's a great theology out there, a great sounding theology out there that says you should forgive yourself. And I have a problem with that theology because it raises us to the level of judge. You see, when I sin, when I do wrong, I am breaking God's laws. I'm not breaking my laws. I'm breaking God's laws. So when I ask his forgiveness, he has the ability and the right to forgive me through the blood of Jesus Christ. I mean, he has to pay for the sins. And then I have to live in that forgiveness. I don't forgive myself. I live in the forgiveness that he extends. So to say that I have to forgive myself is almost to raise myself to the same level of God and say, we're both going to have to work together because we both own a law that I have broken. And that's not really great theology. I am not the judge. Instead of doing the impossible and forgiving yourself, accept by faith the forgiveness of the one who matters and remembers that I have never been valuable to God because of my merit, but because of his calling on my life. Christianity is not about who you were, but about who God is going to grow you to be. Moses was both the most qualified man and the most unqualified man to lead the children out of bondage simultaneously. He was qualified because he'd been raised in the house of Pharaoh, and he was a shepherd, but he was disqualified, or he was unqualified because he was a murderer and because he was a nomad, somebody that had been disconnected from the situation for 40 years. He only saw the things, though, that disqualified him. He didn't see the things that God saw about him. I like to ride motorcycles, and my current motorcycle is quite powerful. It easily can, in its stocks, and it's from the factory settings, its top speed was 189 miles an hour. Now, I have not ever gone 189 miles an hour, and I never plan to go that fast on a motorcycle. That's ridiculously fast. But it's supposedly supposed to go that fast, and mine's been modified, so it can maybe even push a little harder than that. Not maybe sure without losing some of the body panels that are very questionably attached. But people look at motorcycles and all they see is numbers, horsepower numbers. And they say, well, how much horsepower, how many cc's, cubic centimeters is your engine? How big is your motorcycle? And bigger to them is better. But the reality, having owned lots of different kinds of motorcycles, if you hand me the keys to two different types of motorcycles, I'll often pick the keys to a small motorcycle because driving a small motorcycle at 90% of its capacity. It's a lot more fun than driving a big motorcycle at 20% of its capacity. You can't use the power of a street bike like that on the street. You can really only use it on a racetrack. But on a little bike, you can use it. They're a lot of fun. And so people often only look at what they want to see, and they can miss things that are really actually good things. So when Moses comes to God and says, "Who am I that I should do this task?" God responds, "You are not enough on your own and never will be, so I will be with you." And that's B, God's answer. I will be with you. So that's in Exodus 3, verse number 12. And he said, "Certainly I will be with you." Certainly means surely. Surely I will be with you. God brushes aside the inquiries because it is not man's abilities that will deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt, but his abilities. This is the point. Accomplishing God's will in your life is not about walking in your own strength, but about trusting in him, about walking in him. You could say it this way. The Christian life is not about who you are or how capable you are, but that God is with you. And if God is with you, who can be against you? Instantly, this touches our pride because we think we have to do everything ourselves in the Christian life. Me. You know, if I'm gonna get freedom from pornography, if I'm gonna win souls to Christ, if I'm gonna do it, then I have to do it on my own. And I think that's you do have to put in effort. But God is inside the believer, working in that person, and he's going to aid you and perhaps do more work than you will ever see on your own. You know, every day looks, from our perspective, looks like the sun revolves around the earth. Every day it rises and falls, rises and sets, rises and sets, rises and sets. And it looks like, from our perspective, that the sun circles the earth. But if you get in the right place in the solar system, in the universe, you will see that the earth revolves around the sun. And it's maybe almost an optical illusion to us that we are not the ones that are going to do everything in our lives. God is going to work in us and through us. And so you say, there might be something in your life that you don't understand or don't appreciate or don't like. You say, why is this going on? Well, maybe God has a purpose for that you don't understand. And when you get into the right perspective, the right place, you'll see someday that God was working in you for his good, or for your good and his glory. I could live like I am autonomous, but I am not. I am daily dependent upon God and his goodness, who causes the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. Even just little things like that. My food on my table, give us this day our daily bread, is dependent upon God and his goodness. If I really want to understand who I am, guys, I don't need to stare at myself. I need to stare at God. Understanding who God is more will help me understand who I am more. If you don't understand him, you will never understand yourself. You will live in a fake reality of the sun revolving around the earth. Look towards God, knowing who he is and that he is for you is the key to understanding who you are. You must get into a place where you can observe the earth's rotation around the sun, and you have to get into a place where you can observe God working in your life and God working throughout the pages of Scripture. Jesus says it this way in Matthew 28, "Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world." And so you need to be resting in that. So ask yourselves, is it not enough that God's Son, who defeated death, is with me? And if he is with me, is that not enough? Are my problems more monumental than defeating the curse of the world's sin that was laid upon Jesus 2,000 years ago, and then dying and carrying that to his grave and then rising in? Are my problems bigger than that? And if he can overcome that and lives inside me, then what do I have to fear? Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, because if you are his, he is with you. And then see, how will I know that God is with me? Moses asked. So Moses asked a couple different questions. He says, how will I know that God is with me? Verse number 12 of chapter 3 continues. And this sign shall be sent to you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. I think this is incredibly interesting, because God doesn't say, let me show you a sign and then you will know that I'm with you. He says, you will know that I'm with you when you have done what I've told you to do. And so Moses had to put his neck on the line. This token is as a sign. How will Moses know that God was with him? Because the people will worship freely God at that mountain, which they do someday. But Moses will never know that they're going to do that until he goes and believes God and goes back into that lion's den of the Egyptian stronghold. And he goes and calls Pharaoh to let God's people go. How will I know that climbing rope will hold me? when I finally put my weight on it. I can look at a rope, I can read the directions, I can think about it, but until I rest my weight on that rope, I will never know it's going to hold me. And guys, that's how our relationship with God is. You can stay on the edge and look into the pool, but until you jump, you will never truly experience what the water is like. You'll never know what it's like to go swimming until you get in the water. Every sensation. How do I know that God is with me? Because I enjoy the fruits of real freedom, the freedom to serve God, not myself. This testimony of freedom to worship is a picture of what the Christian life will someday be. God delivered me from bondage of sin and death after I threw myself upon him. And now my heart wants to worship him. This is the power of God in me. The miracle of a changed heart. But God's evidence also of a changed heart can be seen every Sunday morning as we gather together with hundreds of other people and worship around the world a singular God. The token that God is with us is that we are imperfect people. After being freed from sin, we are free to worship the God that made us. So Moses asks, who am I? And then his second question is, who are you? And I think this is a great question to ask God. Who are you? Verse number 13 of chapter 3 says this. Then Moses said to God, indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? I think this is a great question because it's been 400 years since God has really spoken to the children of Israel. That he has manifested himself. It's been over 400 years. And so how did they remember for 400 years? 400 years ago, our country, America, didn't even exist. And so that's a long period of time. Another legitimate question is, after spending 400 years enslaved to people of false gods, the children of Israel want to know who the real God is, and why hasn't he come sooner? The 400 years is a long time to wait for God. And their fathers, appear to have been deserted by him. And the word is appear. They appear to have been deserted by him, but they were not. God was working all the time behind the scenes in his timing. Sometimes circumstances appear that God doesn't have things in control. Isn't that the story of 2023? And yet he does. Moses asks, when they ask, who has sent me, what should be the name that I give them? And God's answer is in verse number 14 and 15. God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, thus shall you say to the children of Israel, I am has sent you to me, to them. Sent me to you. Moreover, God said to Moses, thus shall you say to the children of Israel, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. He says, I was who I was, I am who I am, and I will be who I will be, Carol says. Bound up in this name is the calm assurance that nothing can stand in the way of God, the one who has ever existed and the greatest trump card of all time. I am dependent upon no one, he says. And so when I come against an opposition, there is nothing, because I'm dependent upon no one. There is nothing that stands in my way. No being from the smallest flea to the greatest Lucifer can say, I am self-existent. Only God can. He says, tell them that's who sent you. The I am. The one that is self-existent, that doesn't need anybody to exist for all eternity. I love breakfast. Breakfast is one of my favorite meals. Of the 3 meals a day, breakfast is one of my favorite meals. I also love lunch and I also love dinner. Those are my 3 favorite meals of the day. And for breakfast, I eat 2 pieces of toast typically and 2 eggs. That's and if you eat that diet for years and years and years, you too will have a nose that's as big as mine. But breakfast is one of my favorite meals. And a lungfish can go 4 years without a meal. I don't know what a lungfish is, but apparently the interweb says they can go 4 years without a meal. I'm not really sure why you'd want to do that and be happy about it. But a lungfish can go 4 years without a meal. God doesn't ever need a meal. He doesn't. Every day I need to eat. But God doesn't ever need a meal. He can go 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 10,000 years and never need a meal. It's fine. It doesn't. He's self-existent. He has no time where he's cold, where he's hot. Unless he remembers back to his time on earth to experience what we experienced through his son, he has no need for those things. There's nothing like that weakens him. God continues by telling Moses that he is, furthermore, the God who lovingly covenanted with Abraham while Abraham slept, who renewed the covenant with Isaac and Jacob, and who is coming for you. Abraham and Isaac and Jacob were waiting for God to come for them. And the God that was true and faithful to them is coming. What about us? Isn't that true of us? The God who gave us the treasure of Christ is coming back for us? And let's wrap up here. Moses is told to get going. Moses is told to get going. In verses 16 through 22, you see that God tells them, Moses, to go gather the children of Israel. The children of Israel were in Egypt for 400 years as slaves, and God says, go get them. Go tell them. Let's go. He says, go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham and God of Isaac and Jacob, appeared to me, saying, I have visited you and seen that which was done in Egypt. It's interesting, God did not come to them personally. He says, I will send a mediator for them to experience me by. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, a good place. And they shall hearken to thy voice, and thou shalt come, thou and the elders of Israel, unto the king of Egypt, and he shall say unto him, the Lord God of the Hebrews hath met with us, and now let us go. We beseech thee 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. Moses has to step out on faith that God has told him is true. Otherwise, Moses is going to his death. Isn't that the line we all have to walk? What God says, we just have to trust that He knows what is best for us. And so for Moses, he had to make a calculated decision. Was it worth it? Had he seen enough miracles to be able to believe that the God that was talking to him is the God of the universe? Moses has to call the children of Israel, the elders, together and ask them to trust him that he's met with God. And go to the great halls of Pharaoh and demand that the children of Israel be released. Why does Moses have to stick his neck out? Why couldn't God just teleport the children of Israel out of Egypt? Why couldn't God just bloop, bloop, move them? I mean, he created the earth in 6 days. Why not? Because why use a human agent, Moses? Because Moses will come to know God in this story. And because Egypt will come to know God in this story. And the children of Israel will come to know God in this story. And Pharaoh will come to know God in this story. Everyone will come to know God in this story. Not personally, not willingly, but everyone through the experience of the children of Israel leaving Egypt will understand that there is a God that has not forgotten his people. It's interesting to note that God will use a humble request to worship for 3 days to be the catalyst of the entire exodus of Egypt. God knows what he's doing. Moses has to believe that God will work. In verse number 19 and 22 through 22, it says, I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go. Well, that's real comforting. No, not by a mighty hand, and I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all the wonders which I will do in the midst thereof. And after that he will let you go. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. And it shall come to pass that when you go, you shall not go empty, but every woman shall borrow of her neighbor, and of her that sojourneth in her house jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and you shall put them on your sons and upon your daughters, and you shall spoil the Egyptians. Exodus 3:19 through 22. God tells Moses that things will not go well. And that's not real comforting. He says, ask nicely, and Pharaoh will say no. But know that God will be working, and in the end, there will be a story seared upon the pages of Scripture that tells of God's deliverance of a people from bondage when things didn't go well, and he can do the same in your life if you will trust him. What is God trying to do in your life that you just need to trust him for? He has your best interest at heart. And if there's a situation that's in your life that he's calling you to walk through with him, and he is with you, you will be okay. He will have you, and you will come out on the other side knowing him better. And others around you hopefully will know him better. And that's the important thing to do. Father, thank you for the time to look in your word. Help us to apply it to our lives. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Always Right. Do you struggle making left turns? Are you addicted to the euphoric feeling of turning right on red? From the groundbreaking makers of chicken pox and arm wrestling comes the revolutionary services of Always Right. Gone will be the days of waiting at red lights to turn left. Instead, a right turn only route will be plotted by software embedded in your phone. No longer will you fear getting stuck for hours at pesky left turns. Breezy travel will now soothe your weary soul. Always Right, like your mom. Always Right will greatly increase travel times. Always Right is not responsible for anxiety at roundabouts or the French Revolution. Always write like your mom.
I feel like we're getting pretty low in the barrel to always write like your mom. Happy Mother's Day for that. All right, we're moving on from that. Thank you for sharing about always right. We're making butter tonight because, hey, why not? It's summertime, and I'm sure you're sitting there thinking as a high school student, a middle school student, I wish I knew how to make butter. We're going to teach you how to make butter. You need some heavy cream. Heavy cream is all you need. If you want salted butter, you will also need, shocker, salt, okay? So all you need is a little bit of salt in there, and then you need some heavy cream. It cannot be milk. It cannot be half and half. It needs to be just plain old heavy cream. You can get this in the grocery store. It's like $3. Heavy cream, not a sponsor yet. And so what you do is you put it in a container. It doesn't matter how much. And so you can kind of eyeball it. You put it in a watertight container.
How much butter do you want?
Yeah, it depends on how much butter you want. And then you start shaking. And so I'm going to be shaking off camera here while you teach us how to make some origami birds.
All right, folks. So a couple things about origami. Most of the origami projects that I've done in the past have all started off with a square piece of paper. Today is no different. Now, I have scrapbook paper lying around, which is why I have this. I cut it into a square. This is a 6x6 for your information. All right? You might not be one of those people that has random scrap paper walking around, but you probably have copier paper. All right? That good old 8.5 by 11. Boom. All right? Notice that this is not a square. So, if you need a square, and this is all you have, you can do that fancy little trick where you are folding it over, okay? You're folding it over into like that nice little right triangle, and you're gonna have this little lip.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay? So you end up folding this piece, and then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut off the extra. All right? Very, very fancy. All right, so that's how you're gonna start off with your square if you do not have scrap paper. Or you can be really fancy and go buy origami paper, which they make for this, which I've never bought, but would be cool. Okay, so today we are making birds. I brought a couple examples.
Those are some cute looking birds.
All right, this guy is your one color bird.
One
right?
color bird.
If you just have like the white paper or something that doesn't have two different sides to it. All right.
Yeah, you cheap.
All right, and then of course you have the two different options. Excuse me. Which way you folded it, if the white paper is out or in. All right, you got that. So bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, birds.
All right, birds. All right, so we have our square. We're going to fold it diagonally to make a nice right triangle. All right. My pro tip is the better you do at the beginning, the more precise you are in your folding at the beginning, the better it will be later on. Okay. So I'm just gonna make sure it's nice and creased. Whoop. All right. So we have this guy. I'm gonna open up for you. Whoop. See. Just creased right there.
Still just shaking that butter. Shaking away.
Shake it up.
Shaking that way. I'm dying, by the way, guys. This is for you, okay? This is for the people.
All right, so next we are going to take our corners from the sides and we're going to fold them to the middle line to where they line up in the middle. All right, it's going to end up making like a kind of almost like a little kite shape.
It does look like a little kite.
Okay, we got one side here. Okay, there you go. Boom. And then I'll do the other one. All right. So we got our little kite. Bada bing, bada boom. The white part is at the top. All right, you got your two folds. All right, then we're gonna put that side down, and then you're gonna take your top little part and you're gonna fold it back.
Ooh.
The other way.
Yeah.
Very exciting. All right, so got that. All right, and then, so you got your white part that you folded up. You got the two sides that you folded the first time. You're turning it back over. All right, and then you're gonna fold your two top corners down to the middle line again. All right, we're making a smaller kite. That's kind of what we're doing here. Make sure it's nice and creased. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so this is the part that is slightly tricky because when I watched somebody else do this, that means I had to pause it and re-watch it to make sure exactly how they did this. So we're doing an unfold moment, okay? So you have this part, and you're gonna take one side, and you're gonna unfold it, whoop, like this. All right, and then we're
I hate these moments.
all right,
They
and then
stress
we're
me out.
folding it back.
Yeah.
Folding. It's still gonna be a kite.
I hate those.
And you're using this line that you already made, all right? And so your kite, that's one side, right? Now it's got like a little boop, boop, boop. All right, so we're gonna do the other side now.
You have to unfold it.
Unfolding it.
And then refolding it.
Folding it, that top part down, and then using your bottom crease that you already made as the new top line. Okay, so now we've got, all right, our 2 little arms. Whee! Okay, all right, so imagine this. We're gonna fold it down, each one like this. Okay, you've got your little arms. Boop, boop. All right, and this is another tricky part just because it's kind of eyeballing. I'm trying to make a 90-degree angle right here is what I'm trying to do. Okay, so I'm gonna do this, and it might not come out as 90. All right, but, so we've got this little part right there. If you can imagine, that is gonna be your bird's foot. All right, there you go. So the way that they have you do it is they have you fold it in half. Okay, and I am not a pro at this, so yeah, bear with me. All right, so we have 1 foot, and we're gonna bend this to match, so that we have 2 feet that are fairly even. So hopefully your birds will stand. Okay, so we've got this. We're flattening back out. There's your 2 little feet. Okay, so then we're gonna take this white diamond at the top, and your feet are off to the sides, and we're taking this guy and folding him all the way up to your long part.
Ooh, I think I'm making butter.
Is it getting there?
It's getting there. I am dying right now, Charles. Dying. You have no concept.
All right. Okay, so I just did something. I folded it up, and then I'm folding it part way back down, so there's this little crease right here. All right. Whoop. So we folded. We still have our little feet, and this little part right here in the middle, we're going to tuck under the little feet part. All right. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. And then we're going to just fold it in half. Okay, and you are almost there, folks. You're almost there. Look at this. We have a bird body, we have a bird tail, we have bird feet, but the last part is making sure this part gets folded down to be your beak. And it's a little bit tricky because, you know, you're just kind of folding it in on itself, okay? And now this is artistic license here because you can decide where that beak and the head should be, what angle, okay?
All we have so far is whipped cream. I just want to give a status update on the butter.
Okay, so we're creasing, and in theory, we have a bird. Now, of course, I do not want a blind bird, so I happen to
What's wrong with blind birds?
They will run into windows and well, not even windows, just anything.
That's good. They run into windows. Apparently, blind birds only run into windows.
So
That's true. First Baptist is a killer of many birds accidentally.
All right, so I'm giving my bird some eyes.
Okay. So you get a face or 2 or nah?
Well, it's its beak. I mean, I guess I could put a tiny dot for its nose hole, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It likes to smell stuff. It likes to smell where the worms are, the good stuff, the juicy ones.
Boop. All right, and so we have ourselves a little bird. And
That is a beautiful little bird, my love.
thank you. Now, if you want to be super fancy, there was one of the guys kind of pulled this out a little bit, and then, you know, the tail kind of popped up a little bit. But what I didn't like about that is then my bird's not sitting kind of on his feet; it's kind of like laying back. So
Who wants a bird that lays back? Well,
I mean, if he
realistic
was
bird.
snuggling with you, I guess, like in your arm.
Birds
but-
don't snuggle. We used to own one.
Okay.
They just bite.
Okay. Well, I have not owned a bird, so but
Cool. All
there
right.
you go. There is
Bird.
a bird.
Here you go. Okay, so you can for the summer, you can get into origami. It's not hard. Not hard.
No, I mean, and there's a bazillion YouTube videos that
Okay.
you can do.
Start with ours because then you'll know how to make butter at the same time.
Yes, butter and birds.
Yeah,
Birds
butter and birds. Yeah.
Do you want to shake that?
Sure. Let me give you a status update on the butter. It is incredibly thick. And so what's the point of doing all this, guys? What's the point of making butter at home? Is it cheaper? No. Is it better for you? No. Does it taste better? Probably not. The sheer point of making butter is so that you can tell your children someday, hey, when I was your age, I made butter. And so it's an exciting experiment.
It's because you can.
Yeah, you should make it one point in your life. Okay, so what happens after the butter thickens and becomes whipped cream first? And you want to shake past that point. And so it's going to get kind of like foamy and thick, and you want to shake past that point until it becomes a solid. And so it's right past there. It takes about 10 minutes. We're a minute away from being 10 minutes. And so if I was consistent in my shaking, which I hope I was, then you should start to hear like a lump rattling around in there, and like all of a sudden it will become butter. All right, so what do you do with the butter after that happens? Because you have butter in there now and buttermilk. And so you take some water in a container and you rinse your butter. I know it sounds kind of odd, but you rinse your butter. You might need to rinse it twice, and so I have 2 different rinsing containers here. I did wash my hands previous to this project. I also have a control piece of bread by which to test the butter. And so I'm going to smear some, I have a control piece of butter. So I have some butter from our church cafeteria, which is high quality whipped sweet cream butter. Probably not made on a live stream television show, Charles, so not made with as much love. But we're going to smear on some butter. Smear, it's a great word, Charles. I also have a piece of useless trivia for you. There's a town in England called York. And they have these, and there's a place in York called the Shambles. And it's an old English town, right? And so they have these tiny little streets on this old English town because this is pre-cars. This is 400 years ago. And they call the roads, the little tiny little sidewalk roads, snickleways.
What?
Snickleways. And so you can go home to your parents and you could say, when they ask you, how educational was your day? Now you can say, well, I learned how to make butter origami. I got offended by hearing princesses movies not being called princess movies. And I learned about snickleways on, yeah. All right, how are we doing? Do we need to do a check or no?
I mean, you can check it. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like we are at butter stage because you can no longer hear.
Oh, it's nice and creamy. But...
We're creamy. I don't think we're at butter yet.
Man, looks so nice.
So we might have to do a quick shake, a vicious quick shake. Do you have any useless trivia for the people about snickleways?
I want to know what a snickle is.
I don't know. Somebody was probably having a Snickers bar.
Were they like snickering? Like, you know, I'm having a snickle.
This might be a live stream fail. I don't know. Charles wanted to try butter. Have you ever made butter?
I've never made butter.
This is the process.
You can still put it on it, but it might not be thick, right?
It's all we've made right now, folks, is we've made whipped cream. I do not know how to get, this is not butter. Here, I'll give you a smear, and you guys can try some. That is not butter. Here, you guys can test it while I keep shaking it. That's not butter, but that's the end of our show. Here, try it. Give a piece to Charles. And whoops, I almost just splattered all over. Miss Rosa would not have liked that. I don't know what we did wrong, guys. We might have to revisit that when Pastor Joe comes back. I bet you Pastor Joe is a professional butter maker.
He probably has butter making arms.
I think, Charles, that is just essentially whipped topping.
But
salty whipped topping on a piece of bread. And I'm not sure how you would get, I'm not sure what I did wrong. How are we rating that salty whipped topping on bread? Pretty bad? It's just not butter.
It's not butter, but
I'm not sure what we did wrong.
it's close. I mean, it doesn't taste too off. Just very light.
I'm not sure what we did wrong. Well, I can start to see it kind of coming out. All right, we had to let the people go. We'll maybe redo that one. So you keep shaking, and I'm going to close this out in prayer. Father, thanks for letting us hang out with the young people in their homes and their families. I pray that you bless them as they go their separate ways tonight. And we look forward to being back with them next Tuesday. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Hey, guys, we love you.
Thanks
for being on the show with us.